Hello, today we are going to be making a 3D snowflake. The materials you're going to need are 6 pieces of white paper. Printer paper works best. You'll need 1 pair of scissors, a lot of clear tape, and a stapler. First, start with 1 piece of paper. Place it flat on the table. We are going to make this into a square and cut off the top. Start by taking the right corner and pulling it up until it comes parallel with the left side of the paper. The most important part at this stage is making sure you really fold those pieces of paper. In order to get a really crisp snowflake, you need to make sure every time you fold over, you really press down the crease with your finger. Now that you have the crease, look at the very bottom of the left corner. You should have a perfect triangle where the pieces of paper come together. If you have overlap, try to refold so that you do not have any overlap and it's a perfect triangle at the bottom. Now looking at the top of your paper, you should have a small rectangle. We are going to cut this rectangle off. I prefer to keep these small pieces of paper because they make perfect bookmarks for your classroom. Now you will see that we have a triangle. We are going to make this triangle into an even smaller triangle by folding it over itself in half. Again, make sure those creases are really tight. Now standing the piece of paper up, you will see that there is a clear closed side and an open side. This is very important for our next stage. Position your paper so that the open side is at the top and the closed side is at the bottom closest to your body. You are going to take your scissors to the closed side, starting at the tip of your paper. Slowly slide down your scissors so that it's about a half an inch from the tip of the triangle. Here, you are going to make a straight cut, but you are not going to cut the whole way through the paper. You are going to cut until you're just about at the top of the paper. If you accidentally cut the whole way through the snowflake paper, you will have to start at the very beginning of this stage because we need the piece of paper to be in one piece. After you successfully make the first cut, you are going to make a second cut, just like the first one. However, you are going to slide about a half an inch to the left, farther away from your first cut, and you are going to make a second straight cut. Again, you are going to go all the way up until you're just about at the edge of the paper. Remember, do not cut the whole line or you will have to start over. After your second successful cut, we are going to make another one. The third cut will be just like the first two. You are going to slide about a half an inch from your second cut and cut a straight line again all the way up, making sure you do not cut the whole paper. Now, at this stage, when you're making this third cut, you might feel that your piece of paper slips a little bit. So make sure you're holding it really tight so that your line is straight with those scissors. At this point, we are finished with our scissors. Putting your scissors aside, now begin to carefully open up your piece of paper. When you open it up, you will see that your lines are successfully straight. For this next part, we are going to need our clear tape. Taking some small pieces of tape, you are going to take the center piece of the snowflake. Grabbing one edge of the middle of the snowflake, you are going to carefully curve it up and grab the other small corner. You are going to take one small piece of tape and tape those two pieces at the very tips. You will see that this makes a sort of a loop in the center of your snowflake. You should be able to stick a small finger in between those two pieces of paper. So if you have that loop, your snowflake is ready for the next piece of tape. Here, you are going to flip over your entire snowflake. At this point, you are going to take the second fold, and match it up just like you did the first, matching end to end with the pieces of tape, making your second loop. Each loop will be a little bit bigger than the next. The most important part here is every time you tape, you must flip your paper over. Now we are going to go to the third. So flip your paper over and match end to end with the folds of paper. Now, for the next one, you are going to do the same, matching the final one end to end with a small piece of tape. After you have completed each one, you should have this piece with several loops. Here, you are done with your first section of the snowflake. Now, you should pause or start the video over and repeat the same stage for the 5 remaining pieces of paper. After you have completed all 6 of your pieces of snowflake, we are going to begin to attach them. Here, you will need to pay attention to 2 things: the large side of the snowflake piece and the small side of the snowflake piece. Line them up on a desk where you can see that you have matched a large side to a small side. Matching the large side to a small side, edge to edge, we are going to staple these pieces together. I suggest that the teacher does the stapling because you really have to make sure they are correctly lined up at this part. When you match them up, make sure that the pieces of paper match up perfectly, and then staple in the center of the piece. You will repeat this for each piece of the snowflake, remembering to match a large end with a small end and a small end with a large end. After this, you will have 6 pieces of snowflake in a line. Finally, we are going to complete this snowflake. Taking the bottoms of the snowflakes, you are going to line them up into a triangle in your hand. After you have really carefully lined these pieces up at the bottom of the snowflake, you will make a staple. Finally, you are going to take the final small side and big side and staple them together. At this point, you should be pulling your final piece of the snowflake into a complete snowflake.